All right, let's see what we've got here today. First off, an order of business, a letter from Carlos. He says he's just chanced upon my cavalcade of videos, and he also wants to know if I dig fountain pens, which he looks like he's written this letter with. He'd like to send one to me. He wants to know if a stub nib makes my heart flutter. Thank you, Carlos. I really like the envelope. Very classic envelope this came in. I like that a lot. Also, a letter from Linda, who's a fan that says she is retired. That's how old she is. And now she spends most of her time drawing. Pen and ink only. She says she doesn't like watercolor, painting, etc. It's good to know what you like and what you're into. Here's one of the drawings she sent. Thanks for the drawing, Linda. I like it a lot. Glad you're enjoying pen and ink. All right, here's a bigger package. I have no idea what's inside. Maybe I shouldn't have been punching it. Oh my. It says Watercolors Gold Class Mission. Colors found in nature. This has got some real heft to it. I really do feel bad for punching this now. See, these Amazon boxes have this real brittle, fragile tape to it, and I just love punching the crap out of them to get them open, but it doesn't smell broken. And there we have black velvet brushes. Watercolor set. The thing is, I don't know who this is from. This looks super fancy. Oh, it's all in Japanese. That must mean it's real good. Wait. Is this Korean? Wait, there's certain ways to tell I think it's Korean. I'm just a boorish American who can't tell the difference between other cultures' languages. Oh boy, this is something else entirely. See, the only other watercolors I've ever had in my whole life, have been like those little tablets, This is like tube paints. Whoever sent this to me, either they think I know more about watercolors than I really do, or they have a lot of faith in me. They do have a lot of faith in me. I don't know. This is like, what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do now? Does it tell in the instructions? Like, you're supposed to squirt? I've seen pictures of other people's watercolor palettes, and they squirt a little bit of each each one of these into these little things, and then you can like mess around with them, right? In here, in these little things. Wait, guys, I was just like randomly opening another package because there's just like packages everywhere, and I like couldn't resist because it's like packages and you open them, and this one I feel like was supposed to go with this one because look at that. That, my friend, I have never owned this type of paper before because I just look at it. First of all, I don't do watercolor stuff, right? But I just look at this paper at the art store and I just look at it because if you don't know about this type of paper, this is like the Cadillac of, as far as I can tell, this is like the Cadillac of watercolor paper. Arches. That's nice watercolor paper. I feel like maybe whoever sent this intended for these to go together. Either that or it's just serendipitous and one person sent nice watercolor paints and then another person sent very nice watercolor paper. The pressure is on, but I'm not going to feel the pressure. I'm just going to go about it, like I always do. Just do my thing, feel my way through the process, experiment with it. I'm not going to use this nice paper right away. I'm going to use some more average watercolor paper first, and then I will go into the nice paper. All right, let's do it. Let's do it. So I started out by putting one little dollop of each color of paint onto each little pocket in the palette. There's 36 pockets and 36 tubes of paint. And I put them all out kind of arranged in more or less a rainbowy array of, like a sort of progression of colors that I thought made sense. And it seemed like it made sense. But then at least there is at least a third of the colors which don't go in the rainbow, like all these umbery, earthy, like the burnt sienna, the lightly charred umber, like those colors, the browns, the light, crumbly reds, whatever they are. Anyways, so that's like a quarter of them. So those didn't actually fit in anywhere, which kind of bugged me a little bit. But those are also really nice colors, and those are actually the colors I used here for my first drawing, my little experimental piece. I mean, all my pieces are really kind of experimental in nature as I kind of dive into them. I dive into them, but I also kind of shoulder my way in slowly, kind of looking around side to side. And kind of, like in that other video where I was feeling the brick wall, I'm kind of doing that mentally at the same time, with the paper. And interestingly enough, this first piece, as I worked my way into it, as it took form, I realized that this first piece was kind of looking like just a random rusty piece of metal. I don't know if that's good or bad, or it doesn't matter if it's good or bad, but that's kind of what it ended up looking like. And wow, the water. I've used better, worse. No, actually, why can't I talk? I've only ever used worse watercolor papers. Pencils. Paints. Worst of everything. But I'm not the type of person who, you guys know me. I like drawing with anything, making art with almost anything. But I'm not one to advocate you have to use better art supplies in order to make great art. I'm not one to say that, but I did notice almost immediately that these really fancy, nice watercolor paints were different. They were different than the watercolor paints I had used in the past. And these brushes, I think they're called Silver Black Velvet. Those are nice brushes. And at this point, I hadn't even gotten over into using the nice watercolor paper. I was still using like the cheap stuff, like literally the cheapest watercolor paper I could find. I could have even used cheaper paper, but it wouldn't have been watercolor paper. You can, anyways. But I noticed there was a difference. Anyway, so I was just kind of slathering about it. I do a lot of slathering. If I'm not using a pen, I kind of slather when it comes to pen and ink. If just like a pen on paper. But especially if I'm doing anything with paint, I do tend to get a little slathery with things. I've noticed that. But anyways, I slathered it around, and I was just kind of feeling out the mechanics of it, like the way the ink goes down. Wait, is this ink? Paint? No, it's paint. The way the paint goes down, and even the way with watercolors, it's pretty cool. You can even pick it back up again. With acrylics, it seems like I was painting with acrylics a couple videos ago. Once it dries, it seems like it's pretty much on there for good. And if you don't like what you put down, you can keep on building up layers. You can cover up what you did. And there's a lot of layering that goes on with the watercolors, but also, and they told me, I kept this in mind. I knew just a couple basic things with the watercolors, like, work light to dark. And you can keep these in mind. You can, I think that can help you, but ultimately you can do whatever you want. And I did do whatever I wanted. I kept those in mind, but ultimately you can put stuff down. But then if you get like something wet again on the paper there, you can like pick the pigment back up again, which is pretty cool. It's pretty sweet. Anyway, so I did that first little experimental piece in kind of autumnal, explosion-y, rusty hues, People were making tetanus jokes and stuff. I didn't get lockjaw. I'm okay, guys. I am. And I had a great time. It was fun. It's so different. And it was great. And then the next day, or 1 or 2 days after that, I was ready to move on to the next piece on the nice paper. And I'll admit, this nice paper, if you're a French person or an art supply enthusiast, your eyes might have gone a little bit cross-eyed when I said Arches paper, because I think maybe it is a French word and it should be pronounced more along the lines of arche or something like that, which is probably also wrong because, it's just like, you probably got to be a native or, have taken a few more French classes than I did to know how to say that word right. But arche paper, is that closer? Is it closer? Arche? Arche. Arche. No, I think it's arche. I'm going to go with arche from now on. That seemed to make the most people happy. The most happy when I said it that way. Anyways, it's nice paper. It's a lot different. It's like completely cotton. I think it's completely made out of cotton. This paper is, and I went at it. I used a slightly wider variety of colors in this second painting. I was about to say drawing, but I mean I'm really doing painting now. I'm like a real artist now, guys. Look at me. I'm painting. I'm a painter. People ask me what I do. I can say I'm a painter. Like the great artists of old. I'm a painter. Anyways, maybe next time I'll do a portrait. That'd be cool. No, I'm not gonna make any promises. You just have to wait and find out. You never know. I never know. I didn't know what this was going to be when I started out. I was just trying different things, and the different paper definitely was a different. I feel like there's a little bit of word saturation going on there. I was about to say the word different like 4 times in a row in the same sentence. The different paper was different. It felt different. It acted different. It absorbed the water and the colors in different ways. Like in the other stuff, on the cheaper paper, it was all absorbed. It absorbed or sat on top in different ways. But I don't know. I just feel like in order to become more closely acquainted with the art of watercolor, I'll just have to keep doing it a lot more. And it's difficult because, I've been on the internet a lot, and I've seen a lot of people making a lot of crazy things with watercolor art and with watercolors, and sometimes they put down these watercolors and they make it look so effortless, and they make these crazy gradients and these cloudy, vibrant colors and all these little techniques and for a long time I never really thought about doing watercolor, so I wasn't really paying attention that closely to what they were actually doing. I was just kind of watching all dazzle-eyed as they made these beautiful things happening, and I don't know if it would have made a difference at all if I had been paying attention closely, but it was all incredible. And then now here I was sitting there with a brush in my hand and, dabbing away at some water, dabbing away at the pigment. By the way, I squished out those little dollops of tube paint into those little, palette pockets. That's fun to say. By the way, if you're worried about those going, getting dry and getting hard and crusty, apparently it's okay. I was worried about the same thing too. All right, but apparently it's okay because look, if you buy like cheaper, actually I don't know. There's probably really expensive. There's everything under the sun. Like it's all out there. It exists. If you can think of it, it probably does exist. But look, there's probably really expensive watercolor paints that come in little tablets already. Like Tums. They look like Tums. That's what I always think they look like. Like when you buy the old Crayola paints. And I was watching someone on Twitch make amazing art with just those Crayola paints. It doesn't matter. You don't have, like I said, I don't want to say, I never want to give the idea that to make amazing things, you have to have expensive art supplies. But it can be fun sometimes. Anyways, what I was saying is, don't be worrying about these little things drying out up there, the little dollops in the palette pockets, because they can dry out. It's fine, they do dry out, but you just add a little bit more water with your brush, and it kind of like reactivates it, all right? And so it's pretty cool. It's cool. It's fine. It's great. Anyways, I don't remember what I was talking about. Yeah, I wasn't paying attention to what people were doing, and then I went to try it myself, and I couldn't. It's just like I couldn't figure out how to do anything except I feel like I realized that really the only way to figure out how to do it is to just start doing it. And so I just kind of settled down. I just started breathing. It's good to breathe. Out of all the things I recommend doing, breathing is probably in the top 10 things to do. I can go over some of the other ones later, but breathing is like way up there. So just breathe, especially if you're making art or like sleeping or something. Just keep breathing. But anyway, so I just breathed, and I just kind of moved around the colors with water on the paper, smushed them around, slathered. I did some slathering, made some areas a little darker, let some areas dry. Sometimes I would have like a big wet area and add some color, and sometimes I'd have a dry area and add some color, and sometimes I would let an area, I'd have a big wet area and let it dry before I add more color, and sometimes I wouldn't, and try it this way, try it that way, try mixing these two colors and it get a little murky, and try mixing these two colors and it get even brighter. I've realized that yellow, I don't have favorite colors, okay? A lot of people come into my Twitch chat when I'm live streaming and ask, Peter, what's your favorite color? I don't have a favorite color. That seems like a ridiculous thing to have a favorite of, because they're all so great and it's also situational, right? But lots of times lately, despite how much green is in this painting, I've really enjoyed adding yellow. Every time I add yellow to the times, like, I don't use color very often, right? But every time I add yellow to these paintings and these drawings with which I am using color, I really enjoy the yellow. It seems to help make the whole thing pop a little bit, and that's what, popping is cool. Yeah. I wonder if, anyways, so I enjoyed it. I had a great time. And then afterwards, I forgot about this whole part of the drawing. After this one, after I had put down all the watercolor, I kind of, I went back to doing what I do, which is pen and ink, right? I took my .25 Rotring Isograph, which is a technical pen. These things are great at drawing on almost anything because they have like entirely metal nibs. They don't get like coated or clogged or anything. And I drew a bunch of lines on top. of the watercolor, and I had a great time. I enjoyed it. That part, drawing the lines on top of the watercolor, actually took not much longer, but that process took longer than actually putting down the watercolors, because me, I can get lost in and absorbed by the details, and maybe after I do the watercolor more, I can kind of get used to doing details more with the watercolor. But for now, I was just kind of learning to do and getting absorbed by doing more, like the mechanics of the watercolor more, how to work with the water and the color, the pigment, moving it around, the brush, different brushes. I don't know. Ugh. It's also exciting. It's fun. The whole time I was doing this drawing, I was getting excited about this painting even. I was getting excited about the next one, whatever it may be. I don't know. There's, how I'm always talking about images flitting through my head. There's always a few of those. I don't know what I'll do. It's just, anyways, I don't know what to say. Anyways, goodbye. I'll see you guys.